Welcome to Win Talk Radio, where you will learn how to talk truth and take action. Hosted by WIN, Women Impacting the Nation. Join your hosts, Sue Trombino, founder and president of WIN, Debbie Healy, public policy advisor for Faith, Family, and Freedom, Cari Campos, co-founder of Self-Evident Ministry, and Jannique Stewart, founder of Love Protects Ministry and speaker with Life Training Institute. For more information about Win Talk Radio, go to our website at womenimpactingthenation.org. Because remember, when we show up, we win. Well, welcome back to our Women Impacting the Nation Win Talk Radio segment. And we're going to be talking to you today about our Win Talks. And what a Win Talk is really a book club. And what we do, we travel around the country and we have we actually get you educated, again, with truth and facts, not emotion and conjecture. But we have a Win Talk, the book club, and we get you educated with these type of books. But what's really awesome is that this isn't one book. These are 7 books in one series. And I call them potty books because they're very thin. You see how this is? And what's really awesome is that we will teach you things that are truth and factual, not emotion or conjecture. And when you read these books, when you get together, you meet twice a month for an hour and 20 minutes. You start everything with a prayer, a pledge, and a praise. And every book has a different praise, a different hymn. And so, for example, we will start out with Take Back America by Matt Staver. And these are the authors that we're going to be telling you about, or the people that you really want to get to know, because they are on the front lines of the battlefield. And remember, when you're on the front lines of the battlefield, that's when you're going to see the miracle of God. And but these people are out there really trying to save America and helping us save our republic to ensure our liberty. But the first book that you will read is Take Back America. The second book is America's Godly Heritage, which is by David Barton, who you really want to get to know him. He's the foremost Christian historian in this country. Matt Staver, by the way, is one of the top constitutional attorneys in this country. And but the third book is Keys to Good Government by David Barton. The fourth book is Politics Easy as Pie. This is probably the best economic book you will read, and it's by Bob McEwen. And these are amazing, godly, patriotic men. But as you can see, these are very, very easy reading books, so we call them potty books. And the next one is by Rick Green, who really was a protege of David Barton. And his book is called Is America Still One Nation Under God? Now, this is a really tiny book, and everybody can read this. And then the last one is Bible Positions on Political Issues, because we want to make sure that, it's impossible to compartmentalize your faith and your civic duty. And that's the problem, I think, within the church. We tend to compartmentalize that, and it's not possible to compartmentalize those two, because everything you see, you do, you think comes from a worldview, as we talked about in one of our other episodes. And so we want you to come from, to be able to walk your walk, and then not just talk your talk, but walk your walk. But with these books, we also have, actually our 5th book is called God is the Issue, and by Brad Bright. And this is just one of my favorite books, because God really is the issue. What does God say? Now, when you buy this bundle, it's a little cheaper to buy the bundle together. You can buy them individually. But with that comes, one of our taglines is 1256-1. And this is a magnet. You can put it on your car, or it's a great tool to really talk about the gospel, because if you have it on your car, we used to have it on our bus, and that's where we're actually filming from. We're actually filming from inside. This is our new studio, from inside of our bus. But on the outside it says 1256-1. Well, what does that mean, actually? Well, there was only 12 disciples, there was only 56 signers, and there was only one Savior, or one Messiah. What can you do? See, everybody can do something. But we give you one of those, and then we give you also the Patriot Handbook, which is the Declaration, the Constitution, Patrick Henry's speech, and then a little essay from Matt Staver. And this is really tiny. I mean, this is like $2, and you can, buy 5 of them, put them in your purse, your pocketbook, and read this so that you know your rights. As we talked about in another segment, you want to know the foundations. You want to have a good foundation so that you're not tossed to and fro, and that you can really stand. Another little book that we put into this bundle is called Your 7 Duties as a Christian Citizen. It's an incredible book by Bill and Brad Bright. They had done this a little while ago, and actually Brad is updating that as we speak right now. And one of the last things that we add to that bundle is a really, really neat item. And we all have been playing. Everybody plays with a deck of cards. Everybody's been playing, Go Fish or whatever, solitaire, all these different things. But I bet you didn't know that you were playing with the French deck of cards. Well, quite a few years ago, actually, about 10, 12 years ago, there was a family, two brothers and a father, who came from Cuba, and they came up with this particular deck of cards. And basically you can play solitaire, you can play any game you want, just like a deck of cards, but they have changed it so that it's called the American Standard Playing Card. And we have kind of partnered with them, and they have changed the suits. Instead of the diamonds, the clubs, the hearts, and the spades, they have changed them to faith, declaration, revolution, and liberty. And what we've done is they've taken away the kings and the queens and the jacks, and because those are the hierarchy, and that's that's why when we left England, it's because we didn't want a hierarchy. We didn't want a king to tell us what we can and can't do, or have our freedoms to choose to pray how we want to pray. But this is really neat because the 1 through 10 cards represents the Bill of Rights. And all other cards here are limited powers of Congress, has limited powers to Congress on them. So it's really neat because you're going to learn your Constitution. So instead of saying, go fish, you can just say catch liberty. So that comes in there, and it's really an educational tool, and that's what really we are about, is education. And I'm just really excited to, again, have my team here, and our, co-host here, because we're all about education, and we all have, like Debbie had said in another segment, is that we all have our different gifts, and we want to get you to really do what God has put on your heart. And so we're here to educate you and equip you with knowledge of God's truth about our faith, our family, and our freedoms, and then help support you and those that stand for our Judeo-Christian principles. And so our WIN talks are all over the country. And again, all you have to do is just call us at 844-946-8255. Go to womenimpactingthenation.org and just ask, how do I start a WIN talk? And I know that between Debbie and Jannique and Cari, they've read the books and have been to WIN talks. And I want them to talk to you about what they have seen and why not only are they part of what we're doing with WIN, and especially our WIN Talk Radio, but why it's so important to get educated with truth and facts, not emotion and conjecture, and why these books are so vital. And so why don't we start with you, Debbie? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I think that the thing that really gives me strength and faith when we look at WIN and WIN Talk and going into people's homes, and you really fellowship with your friends. And it is such an aha moment when you start the WIN Talk, women and men start reading the book, and you read them together, you're able to discuss, and it's like, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And it really gives you that strength and that faith to walk into the issue that is prominent in your town. And it really is, and that's really the foundation that we're looking for, so that people have the strength, the confidence that they can articulate what that message is, why they believe what they believe, and how it relates to the foundation of this blessed nation.
I actually like what you just said, and one thing that I really kind of want to also bring home is, obviously, with Women Impacting the Nation, it is our goal to talk truth and then take action. And these are tools that you can do that. In fact, I know from experience, I've actually seen parents now taking their kids through these books with them. So that means it started with the mom, went to the husband, and now they're taking their kids through these books. But there's actually 2 books that I've actually seen used, especially when it comes to voting. And a lot of times what people will say, well, that's political, and I don't really like to get religious or political. Now, this book by Rick Green, it's called Is America One Nation Under God? I know you went through this a little bit earlier, but there is one specific paragraph in here towards the beginning that I actually just want to share. Rick Green is saying, and again, it's called Is America One Nation Under God? The most fundamental source of America's strength and the secret to her success is the philosophical, spiritual, and political understanding that America is a nation founded under God. And this really kind of delves into that issue more than you would realize, but even more importantly, I think it's important that we take the time to actually look at these. Now, we're actually going to come back in another segment and talk a little bit more, get into these books. But again, we want to remind of our phone number. It's 844-946-8255. Again, 844-946-8255. We talk truth, take action. We'll be right back.
Here at Win Talk Radio, as Judeo-Christians in America, we have three choices. We can either fight, we can support the fighters, or we can do nothing. We encourage you all, take a stand today.
Welcome back to Win Talk Radio, and what we're talking about in this show are the tools that Women Impacting the Nation uses to talk truth and influence us to take action so that we can impact our nation. I also wanted to come back with this book and talk about this book called God is the Issue by Brad Bright. If you actually look at the cover, and you probably cannot see it, but I love this book. It actually has words like abortion, injustice, divorce, racism. And again, at the heart of this is God is actually the issue. He's the answer. It isn't government is the answer. It's not who we vote into office. It's not who's the president. Ultimately, God is the issue. He's at the core. And I just want to read one of these paragraphs. I know we all love this book, but at the very beginning, it actually says here in chapter 1, it says, America, the noble experiment, is under siege. The nation that once aspired to being a shining light on a hill is now one of the world's leading exporters of pornography. The nation that was once a haven for religious refugees now seeks to exclude religious free speech from education and the public square. The nation that once paid the blood price to free its slaves now freely spills the blood of its young on the altar of choice. Religious belief, once revered, is now publicly reviled. The foundation of all that most of us once held dear as a nation has so eroded that it can no longer stay the culture. You see, and that's why I know Sue, initially when God put all these books on her heart, there was a reason for it. And that's what we want to just really challenge all of you to really understand the importance and the significance for such a time as this, that we're emboldened. I believe that love should compel us to talk truth so that we can take action, because again, it's going to be on our hands. The blood's going to be on our conscience if we do not do what we can to speak up for a lot of these issues. And again, I know in our last show we talked about worldview, and a lot of times people think worldview is mostly dealing with simply the gospel and religion. But ultimately, if we're called to be that salt and light in a city on a hill, that means we're called to speak truth and to live out that truth in every single area of our lives.
Now, before Cari speaks, Ray, I want to say something about that shining city on the hill. Because everybody talks about Reagan and that shining city on the hill. But unless that shining city is on its knees, it's not going to make a hill of being a difference. So we have got to get back to humbling ourselves, turning from our wicked ways, 2 Chronicles 7:14, and then God will hear our prayers, forgive our sins, and heal our land. But it has to come back to getting on our knees, and then, not just saying I'm sorry, but then don't be, and I hate to say this, but it's biblical, don't be going like a dog back, back to its vomit, doing the same thing over and over again. We all know that that's like insanity, doing that. So we really want to get back to doing that. And so so we all love this book, and that was awesome, Jenny.
I was just going to say something when you talk about getting on your knees, and it doesn't really have to do with the books right now, but it reminds me about how at the founding of our nation, they started out, their Congress, the Continental Congress, started out in a 2-hour prayer session. It never intended to be that, but that's what happened. They ended up, Reverend Jacob Duché came and read Psalm 35, and it just, the Spirit of God just poured out on these men, and they were praying for over 2 hours. And from the start of the revolution till the end of the revolution, the start of the revolution till 1815, there was over 1,400 government-issued days of prayer and fasting. And one of the letters that John Adams wrote to Abigail Adams basically talked about how that first government-issued day of prayer and fasting, that he said that there was, can you imagine, over 3 million Christians on their knees praying you know, and he said, read Psalm 35 to the kids, read Psalm 35 to our friends, read it to your dad. And he's like, can you imagine over 3 million on their knees praying? It's like, well, take that number and what do we have now? Can we imagine how many people, if we were to pray and fast, how God would touch this nation, which I believe he is. But I wanted to talk about this book, America's Godly Heritage, because I graduated in 1999, and it was like, at that time, in the late 90s is kind of when they started teaching us to, well, I mean, I know it had been going on, but now it became acceptable and praised. And now it became normal to teach kids to hate our America, to hate our foundation, to not say the pledge. Like, that became the norm right as I was leaving high school. And so we watched the video of this in our early 20s, and it was like, hold the phone. What? Like, wait, slow your roll. I'm sorry, what? Like, that our nation was founded on, we had no idea. And I think these books, and as I listen to you read the titles, this is just the best base understanding compilation to get people educated that I've ever seen. Because this and that, all those, it gives you something that no one ever told us. No one ever told us this. No, we were never educated that. And I think a lot of times when we do what we do, it's because our heart and my heart is because I want to give kids what no one ever told me. I want to give kids and parents what no one ever, our schools aren't teaching it. So I love this. I love David Barton. He's amazing. So
yeah, it's interesting because you go into Wall Builders and you know David Barton. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, you got to read his book, Original Intent. Well, his book, Original Intent, is about this thick. And if I gave you that book that thick, you're going, I like you, but I'm not reading that book. So that's why we come up with potty books. It's really awesome, little by little. But you know what? I just want to maybe, and I don't know if you all want to add into this, but for me personally, you know, I'm not from this country. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela. And I've had the privilege, and I say the privilege, of living all over the world. My father was a 1st Marine Division Guadalcanal. My mom was a WAVE. My brother went into the Marine Corps. And but my dad worked for Standard Oil at the time that we lived all over these places. But Central America, South America, there's not pretty much any country that I haven't lived in. But coming here to the States, I realized that something was not right. And I had gone to a Reclaiming America, and I saw godly patriots, like, you know, it was D. James Kennedy actually in Fort Lauderdale that did the Reclaiming America. And that's where I met a Matt Staver and the David Bartons and the, you know, just, gosh, I can't even think of some, I mean, really amazing people. And that's when I went, oh my gosh, I said, in 1962 and 63, that's when it really kind of came to fruition. But when they took out prayer and Bible out of the school, it was because the pastors were telling their congregations not to get involved in politics. Mm-hmm. Well, we all know we all learn Latin. We all know what politics is, right? Poly means many and ticks is bloodsuckers. And we don't want to get into that. But there's nothing wrong with that word politics. And because we have allowed the media, the people to tell us that, oh, don't get involved in that, the pastors, they are usurping their oath. They are usurping their, what they're supposed to be doing in their congregation. Even our congressmen, our senators, they have usurped all of that. And it's up to us, like we talked about before, is to get educated. We are responsible for ourselves. We can't be worrying, well, so-and-so didn't tell me. No. Ignorance is no excuse. But I've always said, from the time that God put this on my heart, because I've lived all over the world. Every country I've lived in, there's been a coup. And I've seen that, there is nothing like America. America is not racist. I'm sorry. America is not fascist. America is not homophobic and all this other words that people don't even know what that is. I'm sorry, but they're just not. And we are the greatest country on the face of the planet. We are exceptional. We are not perfect, but we are exceptional. And I personally take exception to anybody that says otherwise. And that's where God really put win really on my heart. And when I talk to people, I just say, you know what? Americans are in a bubble. And we think, that's not going to happen here. This is America. And we're like the proverbial frogs in the pot. We're boiling to death because we don't, well, it's not that bad, not big that deal. And what has happened? We have let the line, we were supposed to hold the line, but we keep going back and backwards and backwards. Next thing you know, they've taken over from everything that is not not compatible to our Constitution and our foundings. And we were founded on Judeo-Christian principles. And again, like we said before, everything we say, we do, we think should come from a biblical worldview. And there are certain things that do not align with our Constitution. And that, from Sharia to the Islamic, that we're going to get into all of that. And that's why we are not afraid, we are not ashamed of talking truth and taking action here. We have incredible co-hosts and team members here, from Debbie and Jannique and Cari. It's just been amazing to work with them. And we're excited to get you part of Win Talk. Get one in wherever you are in the country. We're going to come to you, but just call us at 844-946-8255. Go to womenimpactingthenation.org, and we will come to you, because we are all in the next 16 months, because we need to save our republic to ensure our liberty. And remember, when we show up, we win. God bless you all.
Here at Win Talk Radio, our heart is to encourage people and give them hope. As Christians and conservatives, we spend so much time focusing on the negative and what the left is doing and what the Democrats are doing, when the reality is God is moving powerfully, and we see it everywhere we go. He's waking up people, opening their eyes to the truth. And so the very reason, or the very thing that we see as a negative, that the media is not showing us the positive proves that we are winning the day. And so we just want to encourage you to take a stand, take a fight, speak boldly, because people are listening and God is opening eyes. And so the reality is when we show up, we win, and God will win the day through His people when we do it together in unity.
Thank you for joining us at Win Talk Radio. For more information, contact us at womenimpactingthenation.org for questions, suggestions, or for more information, call us at 844-946-8255. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode of Win Talk Radio. And remember, when we show up, we win.